Welcome everyone to Rebel Impact for another video where we talk tactically about Star Wars Destiny. I'm your host, Rebel Gray, and today we're going to talk briefly about 5 cards from the Rivals set, which I think are worthwhile to cover as they have the potential to impact the constructed formats. That's right, folks. We're going to be taking a look at Rivals in the context of Standard and some Trilogies as well. Now, personally, I don't know how I feel about draft just yet, but I certainly do not expect it to be my go-to format. I like constructed a lot. I enjoy tinkering with decks, coming up with weird combinations, trying them out, and basically losing a whole lot before I win anything. Because I'm a deck brewer, and that's where my heart lies. And so I wanted to take a few minutes to analyze just about exactly actually 25% of the rival set and bring you my thoughts on how these cards might check up the meta just a tiny little bit. All right, I think that's a pretty good introduction, so let's get to talking about these cards after this. So let's start with Anakin Skywalker. Anakin is certainly not the bombshell in draft that Destiny players thought he was going to be. Actually, he's quite balanced from what I understand, and that makes a lot of sense because his special is severely limited in a limited format. Go figure, right? And is limited by the cards that you were able to draft, and that is either hero cards or villain cards because you can't pitch neutral cards to his special. And you could find yourself in a bit of a pickle, being unable to use his special at all in draft for that exact reason. But in constructed decks, you can avoid those problems almost entirely. His special should almost always be online, assuming that you're willing to sacrifice that key card in your hand for the damage or the shields that you might want to give to one of your characters. Now, all that said, I think he's a great card in constructed for the simple fact that his point cost enables some pairings. 10-13, such a good point cost to be at, right? We've seen Kanan at that cost for heroes. We're going to see Isla Sakura at 9-12, which is the same as Awakening's Ray. So heroes are pretty good in that category, right? Villains, however, they need stuff like Anakin, and I think that he brings a pretty good die to the table for villains because the only alternate to playing him in roughly this point cost is Kylo, right? Who is also 10-13, the original Awakenings Kylo, who you can't play with Kylo too, right? And even at 10 points, this card is great for 10 HP, enabling blue, maybe in a deck where you're running like a three characters. And it seems like that might be pretty good in Legacies as blue gets better and better. And, you know, I like him for more than just his special. I think that his 2/2 damage sides are pretty good. His shield side is there, which is like hearkening to the Darth Vader from Awakenings. All around, I think he's pretty fair. And I think that he will want to see play on the hero side, but ultimately he's going to be outed for better pairings. Remember, Yoda is also the same point cost, and I mean, I don't know. You know, in a mill deck, you're definitely taking Yoda. In a aggro deck, maybe you're taking Anakin. Maybe you're looking at Isla Sakura instead. Maybe you're just doing Rey if you're playing some ambush weapons in a multicolored deck. So he's going to be outed by a lot of heroes. But for villains, I could see him settling in nicely with Kylo Tormented One from the 2-player game. You know, that, his new Starfighter, maybe like a mono blue control suite with holocrons, something like that. You know, I have a strong feeling that he will see play at Elite. So pick up 2 rival starters if you like blue villains, because chances are you're going to find a deck where he fits in point-wise at Elite. Hidden Motive might very well be one of the best cards in its category, and it's coming from the Rivals set. Now, before I go any further, I apologize for the image quality on these. A number of these cards were really hard to find in the store sites, but eBay came through, so special thanks to Champions Forge for listing singles from the Rivals set that I could borrow for this video, because otherwise we would be looking at a very bland presentation indeed. All right, so why do I think it's good? Well, firstly, 0 cost, right? Next, it's not soft removal at that cost, and it can be played in heroes because it's neutral, just like all the other cards in Rivals. Now, this card is probably going to see the most play out of the cards in this set because it's a die mitigation card, and it lets you remove the exact side that you're looking to remove. The removal text is great because it does not re-roll away, because it does not only re-roll away a potentially big damaging side like a 3, but you can also call the same symbol, and if the die goes back to that side, it gets removed. Otherwise, it's on a side that maybe is, you know, something that you really didn't care about, like a shield or a resource or maybe disrupt. So I feel like this is a win-win for the person actually casting this card. Plus, like I said, it's lowering the cost curve for your deck down to that nice rock bottom here, right? I think this is an instant include removal card in every single constructed deck that runs blue. I think it's kind of like Overconfidence's little brother, and we know that that card is pretty good. And it's also spot blue and people play it, right? And if that card's good, then this one is definitely good. This is one of the cards right here. That is an awesome reason to pick up 2 copies of the rival set or buy 1 copy and purchase this as a single, because chances are you're going to want 2 of them in your collection because you're going to be running 2 of them in every single deck that runs blue. Crafted Lightsaber is another lightsaber in a long line of lightsabers, but I think it gets special notice because its cost is 2. So remember the splash that Shoto Lightsaber made in Empire at War? Well, it wasn't just that it had a decent die with an amazing ability. It initially gained attention for being 2 cost. And I think Crafted Lightsaber here is very much the same. We want to look at it because it's 2 and not 3. Now, its die is absolutely fantastic. It's got 3 damage sides. It looks really similar to Ray's Lightsaber. The only difference is Ray's Lightsaber has 3 melee for $1 and a +2, and it has a shield side, right? But this one gives 2 resource sides. So you're not getting shoehorned into that shield side that you kind of don't always want anyway. The major issue with the lightsaber itself, however, is that you will generally only be able to play it for all rounds of the game -1, because you have to play it on an exhausted character. But there's ways to work with that, right? There's K2SO with bestow plays. There's leadership plays. So there's tricks to maximize this thing if you really, really want to. Are they worth it? Well, if today's meta is any testimony to that, then no, it's probably not worth it. However, in the Trilogies format, which is basically everything in the white boxes right now and going forward, that format is slowing the game down. So this is an upgrade that could shine in that format, even if it doesn't in all of Constructed. So I think it's still worth a look. You know, maybe you took some resources near the end of your turn, and you can afford to slap this on someone who already swung in. I think that's where it's going to work normally. And there's almost nothing wrong with that, you know, anyway. So I think it's a good card. Keep an eye on it. See what happens. My prediction is, however, that it will see some play regardless, because its cost just makes it such an appealing include in some decks that are maybe splashing some blue. The Verpine Sniper Rifle, or Verpine Sniper Rifle, is a testament to the power level that the Trilogies format is starting at. Clearly, it's very, very low, and that power level is also very, very slow to creep. And I think maybe that's where things ought to start, because who knows what's going to happen by set 3. You know, the other day, someone in the Knights of Ren Discord said that going from the Awakenings block to Legacies kind of feels like going from beta to 4th edition. And I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. And that's a Magic the Gathering reference in case you aren't aware. And it's hard to describe exactly what that means, but essentially it's that the power level of these newer cards is noticeably lower than what we saw late in the last set. However, the Sniper Rifle is kind of like the yellow version of F11D, but with a fatal flaw. It doesn't have redeploy, and it's super noticeable, right? And its die is worse than F11D's, right? F11D has 4 damage sides, including the special, and this one's got 3. Its color being in yellow isn't bad, but no redeploy kind of makes this card virtually unplayable in all of Standard. Maybe Legacies will care about it a little bit, you know, in the Trilogies format. At 2 cost, I have a feeling like it's going to see some sort of play, again, probably in the Trilogies format. It still has 50% damage sides, and that's honestly not that terrible. Its special is probably also the only thing that it has going for it over the F11D, which did 2 indirect damage essentially. This is 2 unblockable damage, so it's kind of like a lightsaber, and that is way better. So I know this video is supposed to be about the impact that these cards will have on standard and or constructed in general, and I'm here to tell you that my opinion on this one is that the impact will be there, but it will be very small, if any. There could be some mono yellow decks like Aura Bala that are going to try it out, but even then, I doubt it's going to see much play. For draft, however, it's a cool card. It's a good card for sure. It's a good dice card. It's probably a solid include, 50% damage size, has some consistency to it. So that's probably where you're going to enjoy it the most, and very unlikely to see too much of it in constructed. All of you know I play Mill by now, right? So obviously this card excites me a lot. Bespin WinGuard is the on-demand hand discarding mill card that Hero has been waiting for. But don't count villains out, because this thing can be really nasty with Throns or even in Voss decks. And I think that it really brings something good and unique to the table. So much so, in fact, that I'm worried Mill finally has all the tools that it actually needs to be competitive. And I think that the challenge is going to be figuring out the deck list where you're going to be able to get just enough of everything to actually get it to tier 1. Bespin WinGuard is a very clear-cut card, and I think it's an include for that reason. It costs 1 to get it out. Then for 1 action and a resource, you force an opponent to choose and discard a card from their hand. So it's 1 resource for 1 card. And I think, okay, well, I'd be willing to pay 1 resource to discard a card from my opponent's hand each turn. I mean, I'm running friends in low places, but I only get to play 2 of those, and it's a spot yellow. So once I've gotten rid of those 2, how else am I doing any hero mode, right? In fact, I think I'd even like to do that twice per turn if I could. So it's not unique, and so I can do that if I get both of them out. And I'm really stoked for Bespin WinGuard because it finally lets Hero Mill close games out without necessarily needing C3PO and like a big big side of a die, like a 3 on a chance cube or a 2 on a character. It also kind of lets you get around things without needing Scout or Maz's Goggles to roll a conditional special. And the one drawback, of course, is that it's expensive to use and also to reuse. But Lando knows you got to spend money to make money. And the Bespin WinGuards, they definitely want their paycheck. So this is a card I am definitely including in all my mill decks. And if you're that sort of player, you will want to find a way to get them in there too, because this card can be really, really clutch. And this episode is now history. I hope that everyone out there in Destiny Land and elsewhere had a great gift-giving holiday with their families. You know, it's so important that we spend time with the people that we love and that appreciate us for who we are and support us in all we do. And tonight, we've got New Year's coming up, right? We've got a lot to look forward to in 2018 as far as Destiny is concerned, of course. Rivals is officially releasing in a few days. Legacies as well. Then there's going to be 2 more sets after that, right? Personally, I'm super excited, and I cannot wait to see what else FFG is going to be bringing us this year. So with that, remember to stay safe tonight, everyone. Don't drink too much. Don't party too hard. Say goodbye to 2017 and hello to 2018. See y'all next time. And until then, may the Force be with you.